yourself. You know, you're not an LLC, you're not a corporation, you just do what you do. You're a sole proprietor. That's your title. And as such, you can do all the same things with these programs as if you had an LLC or you were a corporation. It doesn't matter.
And that's an unprecedented territory. Like it's understandable why people struggle with those titles and thinking, does this apply to me? Because normally it doesn't, right? And normally access to this type of funding, but these are unprecedented times.
And it's almost like you read my mind because you just answered the next question on there about sole proprietors. So I'm assuming you're probably getting the same questions a lot because you know that they're coming in. So, but just to answer that question again, a sole proprietor is able to apply for this just like everybody else.
Right. A sole proprietor is basically a default category. You're not a corporation, you're not an LLC, but you're out there, you're selling a product or service, there's money coming in.
You're a sole proprietor.
You are a sole proprietor.
Yes.
That's it.
I got one that is just teed up right for you, Kristen. I know this is going to be right up your alley. So this is a question from Sherry Ann. Again, Sherry Ann, thank you so much for watching tonight. How can entertainment and event businesses, which as we know are really getting hit hard, how can they pivot to create cash flow in this time? Do you have any advice for that industry?
Good question.
Good question.
Yes, you can. Artists are such a critical portion of our communities, and they represent a large portion of entrepreneurs, and we're seeing some amazing outreach from them. I think now more than ever, people have an appreciation. I'm a mom. I have 2 children at home. Hi, Kensington, right? And to keep them entertained is an everyday challenge. To see how much my 6-year-old lights up when she watches the arts on television, right? Or when she's watching a YouTube video. In Peoria, we're already trying to identify, and if you're one of those artists, we've seen great pivots towards online streaming, classes working with kids. Even as somebody who was a former theater kid, I can tell you I've sat down trying to teach my kid things, and it's a completely different skill set, right? And so I've seen so many artists figure out great ways to monetize, to figure out, is it a small message? You know, I've seen chalk artists that can do welcome messages to healthcare workers on their Facebook page. I'd say at the end of the day, what artists need to do is what they've always done, which is figure out how to creatively solve a problem. And in today's world, the problem is connection and entertainment, right? And that's what I think artists are so uniquely positioned, and we need them more than ever, especially in our communities. So those are just a couple of examples. And I would say the same thing to artists. Reach out to some of these resources, reach out to each other, follow each other. We're seeing some great partnerships and teaming between entrepreneurs and between some of these artists, photographers in particular. There's some great North Peoria photographers that are working out of the collective and other amazing resources we have in this community that are figuring out how to do front porch sessions together, right? Where they stay a safe distance, but they're still giving families those moments. So for all of the artists that are out there, I would say reach out to each other, find innovative ways to pivot. And at the end of the day, we need you more than ever. So know you have tremendous value, and we're here to help you figure that out.
I want to talk a little bit about resources. And first, online resources. Somebody had the comment that they went to sba.gov to fill out some of their paperwork. Is that something that are there any online ways for me to fill out some of this paperwork we talked about, and what other online resources are there?
Yeah, I mean, there are various sources. I think the easiest one, though, is to just go to the Maricopa SBDC website, because it'll probably be easier to find. It's a little bit more directed to what we're talking about, whereas the SBA site is pretty broad.
Can you give us do you have that website out?
Yeah.
And we will put it online as well. I actually have an intern watching right now that'll get it right up
there
as a comment.
Go ahead.
So
it's Maricopa-SBDC.com.
And what I will say about resources too is, like I said, I know I had entrepreneurs that have reached out to me, and there's so many websites out there right now that have so many links. And at the end of the day, one of the challenges that we face in this crisis or not is, as an entrepreneur, it's such a diversity of entrepreneurs, and that's really what makes all communities great. How to navigate these resources, which links apply to you. There's so many of them that are out there, and right now I think we're building some tremendous muscle memory as a community on how to find these links, how to make sure they apply to you, and how to apply them to your business.
One thing I want to kind of warn people about is be careful where you get the information. I'm not so concerned that it's wrong, but it may be dated. So one of the things that's a challenge for us on our own website is to make sure that every document that we have on there is valid as of today. So we're constantly changing them. So a lot of the documents that we had up there last Thursday and last Friday, they're gone because they're not correct anymore.
Yeah, and so if you can, when you're getting to resources, the way I encourage people is, national resources are great to get a general framework of understanding, knowing we've talked about 3 different pots of money, and there's going to be even increasing complexity in these. So educate yourself and try to get your head wrapped around that. On a local basis, on a regional basis, we've got some great community leaders that are putting out specifics, right? Finding some forms, being able to create some communities that really dig into it. And then on a local level, that's really where you can get your questions answered, whether it's reaching out to the task force, visiting the City of Peoria website, or posting your questions online. I think that's where you can really start to wrap your ideas around. And of course, when in doubt, reach out to your fellow entrepreneurs. Even if you don't know the person who lives next door to you or the person who's part of your play group, you'd be amazed how many amazing community members are small business owners, are entrepreneurs. Reach out and ask some of these specific questions. Figure out how these resources apply to you. At the end of the day, you have to be your own advocate because there's such a diversity of entrepreneurs. Nobody can help you figure those things out, which is often challenging.
And you know what? One of the things, piggybacking on that, is this is a two-way street too. We don't necessarily have all the answers, especially when it comes to responses and follow-ups. So, if for let's say that you did the EIDL application and you did hear from a caseworker or they asked you something, please tell us this because we need to kind of include that in our database, and we're not going to necessarily know that unless you all tell us.
Well, and I think now is the time. Every successful entrepreneur has a network, right? Like that's one of the things that is looked at, why some entrepreneurs and why even some communities create thriving entrepreneurs, right? And it always comes down to who is your network of people you can reach out to. If you have an accountant, if you have a lawyer, of course, talk to them first. Now is the time to have those resources, and if you don't, now is the time to get those resources. There's great people in our community that can help answer those questions. So it's completely acceptable to have a banker, a lawyer, an accountant, an SBDC counselor, a peer that you can reach to. The more you can reach out to all of those diverse voices and find out and figure out what makes the most sense for you and your family and your individual business.
This is kind of an interesting one. First of all, we are all social distancing in here, by the way.
Yes.
We got you guys 6 feet apart. I'm way over here, and we got another camera guy over there, and that's it. We're a skeleton crew. But somebody asked, do I physically have to go into a bank to do this, or is there a way that I can avoid that?
From everything, and this is again, everything is changing. I know most of the banks that I have talked to are very conscientious about the safety of their community. I think especially in the West Valley, one of the things I'm the most proud of is business owners have not been reliant on what is required, right? They're taking safety first, and I can't encourage that anymore, right? And banks are, for the most part, what I have seen, they're putting the forms online. They're able and more accessible through phone calls than ever before. I think both me and Michael, even Michael talked about, like, we're taking phone calls, we're making virtual meetings. So what I have seen for the most part is they are currently relying on online. However, there's hundreds of banks out there, so make sure you talk to your own individual bank to see what the option is.
A couple thoughts on that. First of all, electronic signatures are generally have been acceptable, but under the current circumstances, an electronic signature is going to be valid. It may not be the preferable way of doing it, but it will be good enough. The other thing is, as these things develop, and if there are people out there who are getting calls from maybe a lender for some reason, or somebody else out there who's saying, hey, we got your application for such and such, we want this information, I'm a little worried that there's going to be some
There's always going to be, always try and be as cautious as you can.
Right, so be really careful who you're giving this information to. Make sure you know who it is.
Yeah.
Thank you. I want to talk a little bit more about local resources, and then I think we're going to give you guys an opportunity to answer any other questions that you have. I don't think we have any more from Facebook right now. A couple things I'd like to say about resources real quick. The city of Peoria is in fact one, and we are relying on our partners to give us those information. If you scroll down just a little bit below this post on Facebook, we just posted 2 videos that we actually made in conjunction with both of you, and then we will be posting later tonight a top 10 things that you can do before applying, which you so graciously provided us with that information. And I do want to get that out tonight because I think it goes along very well with this. The City of Peoria also has a page, www.peoriaaz.gov/COVID-19. And that not only has all the resources that you need for things like what the City of Peoria is doing for closing parks and that sort of thing, but also business resources. So, and we're just a place that you can ask questions. As you've seen, email us, hit us up on Facebook. You know, we really do want to be responsive. Can you just tell me a little bit about being a local resource yourself, what businesses can do if they need local resources?
Well, you know, we are here to serve you. We're a little overwhelmed. We're not used to working at this pace, but you know what? I think this is actually making us better because we're really focused now, and we kind of know what you're going to ask us before you even ask. So I think we really have got our act together here, and I think we're really fulfilling the mission that we want to fulfill. So don't hesitate to reach out. In my case, I would say email is probably the best because I can get to emails anytime, day or night, and we are staying on top of them.
And so what I'll add to that is one of the benefits that we have in Peoria is you have not only dedicated resource partners, but you have committed local leaders and national leaders that have looked at us and said, be as responsive as you can. You've already heard from the mayor. We've heard from leadership consistently. The city council has done nothing but say, what is it that you guys need? How do we move better, faster, stronger? I've been so proud of what this community's response has already been, which is how do we reach out? How do we identify what the resources are? And I think it's given us a better understanding of the SBDC is great to sit down and to work through and answer questions. And if you need concentrated support, if you need an accountant, if you need somebody to help you work through those, we're going to fill in with trainings and we're going to find online resources, and you can even get intentional experts if you're in an industry, right? We're also reaching out to our statewide partners to find them. So at the end of the day, you've got good resources that are willing and flexible and have been given the power to work for Arizona State University right now, who has said, go out, be a socially embedded community, resource, work with small business owners. That's really rare. And we've got all of the disposal, that we've been given disposal to so many different resources, and we've got so many people that are reaching out right now, and I think it's amazing and it's powerful, and I think it deserves celebration. And I'm proud to say that this is what we've been here to do, and we've been working on it for 2 years as part of Peoria Forward, and we're really seeing the benefits of it now, which is people are able to get their questions answered. And even if you get a volunteer calling you and their answer is, I don't know the answer to that, there's literally a spreadsheet, right, where they reach one of us, and you'd be, I think, surprised at how fast we can answer those questions for people.
I just want to say, too, I'm really inspired by the stories that I've heard from our clients. A lot of them new clients, people that I didn't even know last week. And what they're telling us is amazing. I keep coming back to this one that really struck me. A woman who said that she was taking money out of her children's college fund to keep her employees. I mean, that tells you a lot right there. I mean, it's amazing how strong people are and their commitment to, not just their own families, but to their employees, to their customers. It's very inspiring.
And it's so powerful. And one of the things that I'll say is, we talk a lot about culture because communities that have entrepreneurs.
A question and a comment.